In a shocking and seemingly out of nowhere announcement, the West Edmonton Mall and Galaxyland have announced that Mindbender, their massive Schwarzkopf looping roller coaster, will be closing after 37 years of operation. This was by far one of the biggest and most iconic rides that Schwarzkopf ever made, and the closure of the attraction is a huge blow to the legacy of this company. Because if you ask anyone who got the chance to ride it, they'll tell you that this thing was crazy intense, a jam-packed layout, and a ton of fun. I had the opportunity to ride it on my one visit I had to Edmonton, Canada in January 2019, and at the time I had no idea that it would only be a little over a year from then that the attraction would close and then stand but not operate for a couple years, and now here we are in 2023 and it's done for. So what's going on here? What's the deal? The formal statement that we've heard from the park does not go into why specifically they're removing Mindbender, but they do say that they will be bringing more family-friendly attractions in its spot. Now, I do not believe that those attractions that they're bringing here are the sole reason why they're closing this ride. I do, however, think it's a contributing factor because actually Galaxyland is straying more in the family-friendly direction. It was only recently that they started changing over a lot of the themes to be Hasbro, and when you really look at it, Mindbender is by far the most thrilling attraction there. Most every other ride is family-oriented, so it does feel a little out of place at this point. The other inherent problem that these indoor amusement parks have is that expansion is very, very difficult. You pretty much have to remove a ride if you want to put in a new ride. Either that or get very creative. And when you look at Mindbender, I mean, guys, this ride was probably a third of this park. It is absolutely huge. I could see them wanting to take further advantage of this real estate. I personally expect to see a couple attractions kind of sprinkled in over time, not likely put in all at once. I think if the park's being smart, they'll put in new attractions in phases. I for sure imagine that at least one of those attractions will be a roller coaster, but no way will it have the size or scope of Mindbender. Because how do you live up to that reputation that this coaster has? This thing is just so iconic. I know it's like way out there. I mean, this is a coaster that frankly I imagine a lot of the people watching this video have probably not ridden. Edmonton is kind of out there, but it was by far one of the best roller coasters in Canada and super unique too. For a while it actually had a backwards car. Unfortunately that was not a thing when I went to visit, but I can only imagine what that experience would have been like. Holy crap. I mean, when I think about the most intense roller coasters I've ever experienced, this is guaranteed top 3. And to this day, it's probably my favorite Schwarzkopf I've ridden. Over rides like Olympia Looping, Shockwave, it was actually insane. But, you know, I mentioned that this ride has been open for 37 years. It unfortunately has also had a rocky history. In 1986, the 4th car in the train derailed and it killed a couple people. Since then, the coaster is never quite the same. If you look at it, the trains actually now are 3 cars, and the restraints are also a lot more bulky. The park also went through a ton of changes with their maintenance department. Mindbender would close periodically throughout the day for inspection. But I imagine a lot of those decisions were made because of insurance reasons, maybe requirements within the country of Canada, all sorts of stuff. But even throughout that, I mean, this being an indoor theme park, they kept Mindbender running every single day. When I went, I remember talking to some people who said that they had up to 6 trains on that ride, so they could always have some under refurbishment to guarantee that Mindbender would be open daily. So that's why it baffled me why this ride became standing but not operating. I haven't heard from anyone a concrete reason for it. I can certainly speculate. Some of the things that occurred to me is that 1, Schwarzkopf is no longer in business, so I imagine that getting parts for it is a little difficult. Now I know Gerstlauer is based in their old factory in Germany and will do service for a lot of Schwarzkopfs, but sometimes it also is up to the individual parks to provide their own parts and service their attractions. So maybe it was becoming too much for Galaxyland, maybe it was becoming too expensive to maintain, and so it wasn't turning a profit. And then yeah, likewise, they just decided that they could be using the space for something better, which frankly I'm not sure I agree with. But if the ride was literally getting towards the end of its service life and it would have cost like millions and millions of upgrades to like get it back up and running, at that point you have to figure out like, okay, I could spend this much to keep the coaster going, or I could spend a little bit more and get a brand new roller coaster. I imagine King's Dominion had to make that same call when they removed Volcano. So it happens. But unfortunately, I just don't see them relocating this ride. Believe me, I would love if Mindbender could find a new home, but I think more than likely it's going to be demolished. I could, however, see some parts being sent over to Indiana Beach, possibly for their Chimera roller coaster that they bought from La Feria de Chapultepec. Assuming that coaster ever opens, I imagine that some of those parts could help, because if you look at those two layouts, they actually share a lot of similarities. Mindbender is basically a bigger version of it. So to just kind of wrap things up, I mean, upon hearing the news, I was devastated. I'm very grateful that I had the opportunity to experience it, but I really feel for people who never got the chance to make it up there for it, because it really was great. This isn't just some crappy ride that's biting the dust. Mindbender was a really good roller coaster. So a very sad end to a very iconic ride. Let me know down in the comments below what you think of all of this. If you had the opportunity to experience Mindbender, let me know what you thought of it. And of course, stay tuned for more news and updates within the world of theme parks here at Coaster Studios. And I'll see you next time.